Okay, so in this video, we'll talk about how the shader editor works. Right now, if I have the principled BSDF and I play around with the roughness, you can see that my piece of paper here starts being shiny or dull. And you'll notice that the numbers go between 0 and 1. Now, if I just create a RGB node and I'll just plug it into the base color, obviously you know that if I move it around, the color changes. And if I move this up and down, it goes dark or light. But what happens if I move this and I plug it into roughness? It seems like nothing much changed, but now if I move this bar up and down, you'll see that I get shiny when the color is black, and I'll get rough when the color is white. And that is because Blender looks at the color white as the number 1, and it looks at the color black as number 0. So why is this important? Well, instead of using a number to drive our roughness, we can use a color. And why is that important? Because we can use more than just a color. We can use a texture. So here I have a noise texture, and I'll just show you what it looks like in the color. So the noise texture is just a black and white image, but instead of putting it into the base color, I can put it into roughness. And you already know that the color white is dull and the color black is shiny. So I expect there to be a lot of shine here and it to be dull here. So if I plug it in roughness, that is what I get. So I unplugged it from the color, right? This is not the color. The color is now green, for example. But you can see that the changes in roughness applies through the texture. Cool. What else can I do? Well, instead of using noise texture, I can use an image texture. And the texture that I will use is the wall texture that I created for the school. So again, this is what it looks like. But what I can do with this color to change it to black and white, I can feed it into the color ramp. This changes it to black and white, which means I can then plug it into the roughness, and I have a roughness variation here, which means that if I want my wall, so this wall right here, to kind of be more realistic, because right now it's very flat looking, I can just plug this color ramp into roughness, and now I get more detail. It's a little bit more realistic. So the problem now could be like, oh, maybe the bricks are a little bit too shiny, or I wish I had more control over it. And you technically do. With this color ramp, you can move things around and you'll see how it affects it. The more black I add to the color ramp, the more shiny it is, right? Because black is 0 and 0 is shiny. The more white I add, the rougher it will be. But also what you can do is you can change the maximum roughness and the minimum roughness by changing the value. So instead of being full white, I can just say the maximum roughness will be 0.5. Change the lightness to 0.5. And here for the maximum shininess or the minimum roughness, I can just say 0.2. So now my values are between 0.2 and 0.5. And so the consistency is more the same. And it all depends on the look you're going for. Okay. Now, personally, I don't like just taking the wall image into a color ramp. What I like to do is I like to dissect this image using the separate color node, which essentially just separates it into the RGB values, except it gives you the grayscale version of it. So this is the R. So there's a lot of reds because the image is white. There's not a lot of greens because the image is a little bit darker. And there's not a lot of blues because the image is even darker. But you'll notice that across all the R, G, and the B, the border, so this part right here, is very light. And that is because our original image, that is where it's made of the color white. And the color white is made of all 3 primary colors, red, green, and blue. So what I like to do is I like to take this separate color and feed that into the roughness. And I think you get a little bit more variation. And you can see like, okay, how does the red turn out? What about the green? What about the blue? Personally, I like the red the most in this case. I think that's probably the coolest. Okay, now that's pretty cool. But there's more we can do. Obviously, we have a lot more of these nodes that we can, or a lot more of these circles that we can plug in. The one that I'm interested in is this normal map. You'll notice that the normal map, or all of these circles, are gray. So the gray circles will take a grayscale or black and white image. This blue dot will not take a black and white image. It actually wants a different type of image. And the way we can generate that from our black and white image is using the bump node. And you'll see that our output is this blue dot. And our input here for the height is gray. So we can just take one of these. So I'll take the red again. And you'll see once I increase this distance, I get a weird looking thing happening. So I'll set it to 0.3 or 0.03, and I'll bring down the strength. So strength of 0, it fully turns it off. But when I increase the strength, you can see that it looks like the mortar is actually coming out of the bricks. So it's almost like there's some 3D-ness to it. And if I take away the roughness so you can just see the normal map, you can see kind of what the effect that's happening. I'll come to the light here so you can really see it. So this is without, and this is with. Okay. The only thing that I don't like is when I look at it, it seems like the mortar is coming out of the bricks rather than the bricks coming out of the mortar. And for that, you just have to hit this invert button. So now it looks like the mortar is inside of the bricks and the bricks are popping out. You might have to adjust your strength a little bit. There. And I will re-enable my roughness. And actually, maybe I'll turn the roughness down by feeding it into another color ramp. And just like before, to get rid of the shine, shine is 0 or black. So I'll just bring this value up a little bit. Something like that. So if this is my wall, it looks more realistic than if I remove those things. So this is before, this is after. So that's it for this video about materials and a little bit of material theory.